There are a lot of powerful weapons in the Marvel Universe, like the Infinity Gauntlet and Mjolnir. But would you believe that one of the most powerful obscure objects in the entire Marvel Universe is a bedazzled, time-traveling baseball bat? Yeah, it's a real thing. Because comics. But before we get too far into things, I want to talk about the most powerful weapons in my arsenal. It's my fiance's favorite sponsor, Manscaped. Now, I've talked about their amazing products before, but I think it's really ingenious that their trimmer now has a replacement plan. So every 3 months you can actually get a brand new head to keep things nick-free and also to make sure that things are very hygienic, which is very important. You can save money by subscribing for their various consumable goods, but if you sign up for the Peak Hygiene plan, then you also get a free bonus gift with every package. This is the Plow, but they completely redesigned it for the Plow 2.0. This is going to be the free gift that you'll get if you sign up for the Peak Hygiene subscription. As always, you can go to manscaped.com and use the code COMICD20 at checkout for 20% off, but only through the Peak Hygiene plan can you get the completely redesigned Plow 2.0. But anyway, thank you guys for the sponsorship, and now, back to the video. Now, buckle yourselves in, because this is going to be a wild ride. When you're dealing with a weapon that can manipulate time itself, or honestly, whenever you're dealing with comic book time travel at all, things are going to be all over the place. The Time Bat first appeared in the astonishing Spider-Man and Wolverine series in 2010, written by one of my favorite writers, Jason Aaron. This storyline revolves around the time-traveling shenanigans of Spider-Man and Wolverine after they're flung all throughout time when they try to prevent criminals from robbing precious time diamonds from a bank. Oh, you heard me right. Time diamonds. Not to be confused with the time stone, these little gems are crazy strong, and they have an equally crazy origin. You see, billions of years ago, these insanely powerful gems actually grew on trees, on a planet that didn't survive long enough to be named by any civilization because of its unstable core. When it finally exploded, the diamonds were scattered all throughout the universe. You know the meteor that wiped out the dinosaurs? Yeah, that was actually a part of this planet, and it's how some of the time diamonds landed on Earth. I know that this sounds like a bunch of dumb comic book nonsense, and you would be correct. However, this is kind of just the tip of the iceberg. Anyway, while Spidey and Wolverine were being flung every which way through time, they were also being hunted down by two mysterious villains, Zar and Big Murder. Although they seem like these big scary villains when all you can see are these silhouettes, you probably didn't think that they looked like this. Zar was a New York City drug dealer in the 21st century with his right-hand man, Big Murder. That is, until they got their hands on some of the time diamonds. Using their power, the two traveled the time stream to do and take whatever they wanted throughout all of history. In fact, they keep all of their plunder and stolen women in a space mansion at the end of time and party on the regular with their past and future versions of themselves. While Zar embedded the diamonds on his bracelets, earrings, and even his teeth, most of them are kept on his trusty baseball bat, which he calls the Time Stick. A single time diamond is enough to let someone travel throughout all of space and time at will, so with all of the diamonds at Zar and Big Murder's disposal, they're pretty much untouchable. Not to mention that the Time Bat also allows them to freeze time itself. Although it initially seems like someone wielding time diamonds is able to control their abilities, Zar does note that when he hits someone with the Time Bat, it completely bounces them to another place and time at random. Zar and Big Murder were having a lot of fun messing with Spider-Man and Wolverine, but Logan was able to steal the bat away from them and used it to bring him and Spider-Man to the source of the time diamonds. You see, the two heroes needed to bedazzle themselves with the gems so that they could cancel out the abilities of their enemies' diamonds. Hell, Wolverine was so cocky that he even gave the bat back to Zar before kicking his ass and shredding it with his claws. I know that this hyper-simplified look at the miniseries probably makes it sound really stupid, but I swear it is a lot better than it sounds. Regardless, even though Wolverine sliced up the Time Bat, this wouldn't be the last that we see of it. Fast forward to the Infinity Wars event in 2018. This series featured a very brief cameo of the Time Bat when it was wielded by a future version of Wolverine, who is also an avatar of the Phoenix Force. That being said, the Bat's appearance was so brief that I would need to spend more time explaining Infinity Wars than actually talking about the Time Bat itself, which is the subject of this video. But because I love you guys, here's a super quick version.
The plot of Infinity Wars is that Gamora used the Infinity Stones to reduce the population of the universe by half by fusing people together. This creates something like the Amalgam Comics crossover that DC and Marvel did years ago. If you'd like to know more, then I have an entire playlist of videos dedicated to explaining it. A few characters managed to avoid the fusion, most notably Loki, who made it his mission to revert the world back to normal. This brought Loki to the X-Men school where he met Diamond Patch, a fusion of Emma Frost and Wolverine. By reading Loki's mind, Patch discovered that Loki was telling the truth about Gamora. Because of his own off-panel adventures, Patch knows that he'll one day become an avatar of the Phoenix Force, so he uses his telepathic powers to send a message to his future self. In that very instant, the future version of Wolverine appears to briefly help out, and in his possession is the Time Bat, which is how he traveled back to the past in the first place.
Makes sense? Okay. Infinity Wars setting up this future Wolverine led to him coming back one more time so that he could actually give the Time Bat to his younger self. Along with the gift, he also tasked both the young Wolverine and Loki with protecting a man named Hector. You see, during the Infinity Wars event, each of the Infinity Stones were given a soul, and the Time Stone had fused itself to this Hector dude. When Wolverine and Loki finally meet Hector, of course he wasn't on board with hanging out with some random hairy dude with claws and the literal god of lies. So when Hector tried to inevitably escape, he quickly learned that the Time Bat is so powerful that its wielder can't be frozen in time even by the power of an Infinity Stone. Now, longtime viewers of my channel might remember that in a previous video, I mentioned that the Infinity Stones are the respective things that they're named after. That means that the Time Stone is time itself. This makes it just a little bit crazy that the Time Bat is so powerful that it can cancel out the stone's abilities. However, it's worth noting that Hector has not mastered these newfound powers yet. It's very possible that in the comics, the Time Bat wouldn't be able to negate the abilities of the Time Stone later on after Hector has more practice. However, until that's cemented in canon, that means that this sparkly baseball bat seems to be more powerful than time itself. Anyway, back to the plot. Despite Hector not wanting to work with Wolverine and Loki, he didn't have much of a choice, considering that multiple bad guys from space were hunting him down so that they could capture Hector, cut him open, and take the Time Stone for themselves, which, yeah, nearly happens. Wolverine and Loki went to space to rescue Hector after also recruiting Doctor Strange's ghost dog because comics, and a lot of really cool action ensues. My favorite moment has to be when Logan gets burned to a crisp and uses the Time Bat to rapidly accelerate his healing factor to repair his body and get right back into the action. The downside, though, is that this left Wolverine naked in the process, which led him to covering his junk with a belt that he made from the heads of his fallen enemies. Yeah, I can't believe that they let this guy into the Avengers. Eventually, Wolverine and company teleported off of the enemy ship and blew it up behind them. Unfortunately, though, it looks like nobody thought to grab the Time Bat, and it looks like that it was left behind and got blown up on the ship. I wouldn't say that this is the last that we'll see of the Time Bat, though, and I have two theories as to why. First of all, we've straight up seen the Time Bat get destroyed and come back before, so it's not unprecedented. The second, and frankly more interesting option, is that one of the enemies could have snagged it before the ship blew up and simply time traveled away. I'm hoping that it's the latter, and let's be real, that's probably what happened. I am a huge fan of the Time Bat, and I'm really glad that I got to share this really interesting and weird part of Marvel history with you guys. And if you learned anything new, then please let me know down there in the comments below. I'd really like to hear it. But if you like this video, then why not consider subscribing or even watching another one? And since the Time Bat first appeared in the Astonishing Spider-Man and Wolverine series, then I feel like it's appropriate to mention that I have a dedicated playlist for all of my Spider-Man videos. So if you have some free time, maybe watch through those. I'm biased, I think they're pretty good. But anyway, I hope you learned at least a little something new, and hopefully, I'll see you next time.